Closing the book on my 20s has me feeling nostalgic. I really did think I was going to be married by the time I was like 21, 23, 25 at the latest. Wanted to have at least one kid out by 30. The last girl I was seriously seeing told me that it was something about what I was putting out there. Something said, I don't know, I was one of those guys who only wants one thing, a Lego Death Star. I don't know though, it's been quite the trip. So for those of you who are in for an adventure, join me on a trip down memory lane. It's going to be a weird one. My name is Richard, and I am so glad that you could be here today. Or back in high school, I didn't really date that much, or at all. Unfortunately, my mother was very determined to make sure I came out of the womb with zero self-esteem. Got abused pretty bad at home. It's always awkward when your abuser is a single mom because you have to spend basically the entire rest of your life with everyone saying, "Oh, but she's your mom." It really fucked up my ability to interact with women. I don't know. On the one hand, it gave me a really distinct ability to see through women's bullshit. Just, I guess, by force of habit. I think a lot of guys who grew up with single moms end up with that, or just around a lot of women in general. I actually, if you want one of my most tinfoil conspiracies, I think that's why a lot of white women love black men. A lot of them had single moms. I know I did. But it fucks you up when you grow up in a household where, on the one hand, you have that expectation of you're the man of the household, you have all these duties, your responsibilities, you're the emotional rock, and yet simultaneously you're a piece of trash, you need to be kept in check, you have a literal angry demon inside of you and need to be, kept in check. All the other shit from that adolescence is telling young kids in the UK. God help those boys. I don't know. It's just sort of this culture when you're in, I've used the phrase before, growing up in the liberal hellscape, and I stand by that. That's pretty much what Illinois has become at this point. 6 years culturally behind the rest of the United States. More obsessed with its own virtue signaling than with actually trying to know or understand the plights of, where people are or what they're going through. On the one hand, requiring all men to be politically and culturally subservient to women, and yet at the same time, still expecting men to be men, and it just doesn't work like that. It makes dating impossible. I mean, some example. Like I said, I didn't date much in high school. I remember once I was maybe, how old was I then? 22, 23. I go over to this girl's house, and she had been telling me all week about how she was really, really hard up for cash, and she was camming online. This was actually before OnlyFans. But she was doing that for extra money, and every time she'd bring it up, I'd be like, as I had been taught, great, I'm glad you have the money. I don't know if I'd always recommend it, but if it works for you and you're safe about it, get your bag, girl. Have at it. I did my due diligence. I was supportive. I wouldn't necessarily date her, but that was for a variety of reasons. And then at one point, she, I went back to her place. We were hanging out, and I remember at one time I walk into her room, and she literally has the computer open, to the webpage of the site she was using. I think it was Cam Soda, maybe. Oh man, throwback. And she looks at me, and she has this. She looks at me, and she's like, "Yeah, this is what I use. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I'm having to do this to pay my bills. Ha 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 ha." And I'm just standing there like, I'm so confused. I don't know. I've been told this is good. This is you getting your bag. And also, but you're clearly saying this in a way that's like, hey, Mr. Strong, hardworking, conservative man, don't you want to stop me from doing this? Oh my God. I don't know. It's just like at a certain point, what are you supposed to think about that? How are you supposed to, when it becomes so painfully clear that women are getting told one thing but also something else is true. And there's all these, I don't know. It's just, you just check out at a certain point. And you know what's really funny? Wasn't even the only time that happened to me in my life. I mean, I had this other girl who did almost exactly the same thing. This is 2-3 years later. She was actually was considering, she used to be a model, was considering shooting some videos out in LA. You know, if you can live with the consequences, it's an easy 40, 50 grand. And again, you know, every time she'd mention it, I'd be like, that's your right. Get yours. Do you? I wasn't dating her. I don't know. I'm not your dad. Like, go do you. And every time, but she would say it with this air of like, ha ha ha, I'm going to have to do this for money. Oh God. I ended up sleeping with both of those girls and vehemently regret it. The one who was doing her camming, I don't know if she actually was or if it was just a line to try to, I don't know, get me to sweep her off her feet or something. But I remember she was also my boss. Man, she was, I don't know, man. I was always kind of a quiet guy, you know. I was coming out of an abusive household on my own for the first time since I was 17. So I guess I'd been on my own for a while by that point, but I wasn't really, you know, girls were not the first thing on my mind, but she was tenacious. I remember she blasted "Let's Talk About Sex, Baby" over the loudspeakers at the restaurant we worked after it had closed, because she was, again, my boss and she could do that. She used to tell me she would talk openly about guys at the company she had hooked up with. Running gag of my life, by the way, women trying to get into my pants by telling me about all the men they had been with. And if you know anything about men, not an effective strategy generally. Told me she didn't wear underwear. Oh, it's a fucking laundry list of things. But then all of a sudden, you know, finally she gets me back to her place and suddenly it's, hey, Mr. Conservative Man, I'm struggling to pay my bills and oh my God, I'm having to resort to sex work. I don't know. I mean, you're in this world that's constantly telling you, you know, like, this is empowering, this is good, this is for the best, and it's like, I don't know. On the one hand, it's not my problem. Like I said, I ain't these women's fathers. I don't know. Somebody's lying somewhere in this conga line of alleged empowerment. Somebody's lying, and I don't know. That's what makes you just check out after a certain point, because you know it. You know somebody's lying in this chain. You know, so why would I take part? Why? I don't want to have to deal with this crap. Irony is, for all the time that she spent trying to get me into bed, she wasn't even that bad looking a girl. I don't know. Maybe if she had just talked to me, expressed her feelings in like a mature way. I don't know. Just don't treat me like I'm a piece of meat, you know? I don't know. I still feel kind of gross about it. I remember, oh my God. I remember I tried to tell her that. I tried to say, like, hey, you know, you being my boss and doing all this openly shitty stuff to get my attention made me really uncomfortable and still kind of lives with me, you know? I remember distinctly what she said. She like thought for a long time and was just sort of quiet, and then comes back to me and says, oh my God, well, it's not like I raped you, which is like truly what every man wants to hear. And again, you know, it's not even like she was bad looking. I don't know, maybe just don't treat me like I'm a fucking slab of beef for you to poke and prod and put your fucking hands on. I don't know, whatever. One more day in the liberal hellscape. Wasn't lying when I said before, there's just a succession of women trying to get my attention, letting me know about all the men who were interested in them, all the men who they had been with. Oh my God. I was working at, this was just a couple of years ago, maybe like 2 years ago now. I was working at a coffee shop, and being the general manager, all of these college girls who were very, very nice. I remember there was one who was just goddamn relentless. And every single day, oh, well, I was just hooking up with this guy. I was just with this guy. Oh, I was doing this guy. I was like, That's great. Do you? I get the ick every time you mention another dude in front of me. And every time, I don't know, maybe that's how she got attention on TikTok and she assumed it would translate. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. They were all very sweet. Nothing happened. I'd get a fucking medal for that. The last girl I saw for any serious length of time, it was maybe a couple of months, I guess. I don't know. I mean, we met when she was seeing another guy, and I was adamant about, let's be friends. Not in the I was so clear about the not in the I'm getting in line behind him way, like she wanted, clearly, but in the let's actually be friends way. Okay? Why don't we actually do that? And if things don't work out with this guy because we're young and it happens, okay, sure, we can talk about it then, but let's actually be friends, which apparently was very attractive to her. They broke up a couple of months later. I remember one of the things, she came to me and specifically said, yeah, oh my God, like when we broke up, the first thing he said was, well, Rich is going to be really happy. And I was like, wow, that's really shitty. So you did just think of me as being in line behind him this entire time. Great. And then she was shocked that I did not immediately try to jump her bones the moment that happened. Like, weird. It's almost like I don't know, had emotions of my own or perhaps a bit of an ick about the fact that she saw me that way as just some replacement widget in her life. Like a car part she could just swap in and out. She did all kinds of crazy stuff. Insisted that she man, this is verging on TMI. She wouldn't kiss me, but she sure was willing to do anything else. Said she didn't want to get the feels. Always found that interesting. Then eventually because we weren't dating, she was very insistent on that. She needed her independence. And eventually she fucked another dude. And I was like, nah, we're done. we're done. I mean, I was more upset about it at the time, but no, that was never going back. And she seemed surprised by that. She seemed surprised. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, it's over. No. No. Seemed surprised by that. Fucking how? It's crazy. Just crazy. It's just crazy. And I don't know. Ever since then, it just sort of checked out, It's like, the girls are cute. That's great. I'd rather be working on my career, trying to earn a little extra money, trying to build my presence online. I'd rather work on that stuff. It's not even in like a cynical, red pill, I'm working toward a Bugatti kind of thing. It really is just like, I don't know. I've sort of just given up. It's just, it's tiring. Funny enough, when I talk to, and I know I rant about them all the times, my same liberal friends who tell me that I am a misogynist tell me that the way I should go about trying to meet women is to have more casual sex, which I find wild. I'm just not that kind of guy. Never have been. I mean, I find the act of even keeping count of your body count to be really tacky. I mean, mine is well under 10. It's not super high or anything astounding or to brag about. When you try to put yourself out there, it's every situation in which you try to, or at least I've tried to meet girls, it's always been, oh wait, no, there was another girl. Oh shit, I almost forgot about that. Yeah, I did go on a couple of dates with a girl a year ago. Yeah, I mean, she was cute. I don't know. I remember once we were talking about the she was asking me some questions, like clearly relationship type questions. And at one point it came up like, oh, well, goes on the usual rant about something, the patriarchy, something, historic oppression. It's like, yeah, okay, all right, whatever. And eventually she's like, oh, well, like, do you want kids? And I was like, I was just trying to be honest about it. I was like, yeah, I do want to have kids. And it's just like immediate. Oh, so you think I'm a baby factory? A, we've been on one date. B, no, I would like to be with a woman who wants kids. That's why you ask and express these things early. I'd rather not force a woman who doesn't want to have kids, actually. That's actually explicitly something I would like to avoid. But it's like this instant thing. It's like they're told their whole lives, like in some extension of how liberals in general are told they're in this existential war with the fascists and the patriarchy. It's like they're told that, when you meet a guy you actually like or respect, at least, that's a threat. You need to be on your guard. That is a sign you need to be on your guard. And you have to whip out your couple of pre-scripted phrases that all you girlies on TikTok have told you to be ready with. You got to be ready to fight any man that you actually respect. And it's like, and then they complain there was shitheads. Like, I don't know. Despite everything, though, I every single girl I've ever been with, I do wish them the best. I don't want anyone to wind up alone if they don't want to wind up alone. I don't want them to, end up in a situation they don't want to be in. I don't want that. I don't know. I've not due to any sort of conscious choice. I have just kind of just decentered women from my life, and not that they were ever really a big part of it, but it's just, God, it's just been nothing but trouble the entire time. And if I'm entirely honest, even looking at my friends who've all gotten married in their early 20s, most of them are going to be divorced within 10 years. But hey, I hope that I'm wrong. It seems to be a thing with a lot of my, being in the liberal hellscape. It's something I see a lot. This culture where, with me in particular, I meet people, and especially women, but people in general, but especially women, where it's like they expect me to be both this sounding board, this brick wall they can hurl all their emotions at, and yet remain in their life and want to be around them, despite the fact that they treat me like I'm a punching bag, emotionally and verbally. God, I need to get out of this state. Every day that I'm here, it's like I meet more and more people, not all women, but especially women, where they simultaneously need me to be, I don't know, like what I get told is, Rich, you're awful, you're an agent of the patriarchy. You're a misogynist, you're this and you're that. But when I need someone to tell me that things are going to be all right, you're the person I want. You're when I'm at my lowest moment and I need someone to make me believe that everything is going to be okay, Rich, that's when I need you. But the other 99% of the time, you're awful, you're the worst, you are the rock upon which I cut my teeth. One of the things that we fail to appreciate about masculinity these days is how it is meant to bring peace to people's lives, to be that force, to be both, how do I put it, is a strong force and yet an immovable object simultaneously. And if it doesn't make sense, it's only because human emotion doesn't make sense. That's what masculinity should be. And I've met this cacophony of women who seem to want me to be that in their lives, to be that immovable rock that, when they're in a storm, and then the moment things clear up, it's you're just another agent of the patriarchy. And then suddenly they cast you aside because my girlies on TikTok don't like you. But that's what it's supposed to be. Again, baby out with the bathwater. That's what masculine presence is supposed to bring. That's what I try to bring to my content and to my online presence, is that air. And it hasn't always been successful, but that air of peace, that air of strength, that air of both forward motion and yet immovability. That is, in my mind, what masculinity truly is in its most basic form. That is the energy that a masculine man brings to a relationship, a romantic one, a friendship, to everything. That is what's to be appreciated. But when you bring that, people only want you around for 1% of the time. Not exclusively women, but especially women. And it's why I think a lot of women these days are just not doing well. I guess fortunately for me, despite having a lot of despite not having a lot of success in the romantic department, I do have a lot of great women in my life who have been good, positive forces, who bring, positive feminine energy into my life. But as I'm getting older now, a lot of those women have husbands or fiancés or boyfriends whom they should be focusing on. And I don't know, I'd like to meet someone too, but it's just, who knows if it's going to happen. I'm definitely not putting women back at the center of my life quite yet. Maybe at some point. For right now, there's the channel, there's other things in my life, there's, my own mental health and my financial situation I got to get sorted. There's all those other things. So for right now, it's okay, but it's disappointing, being somewhere, being in a culture that only wants you around 1% of the time, needs you to be there for them desperately, and yet treats you like garbage, sees you as a threat because of the positive things you bring to people's life. And I wish people could appreciate that more, but I guess that's not really what we're trained to do now. I don't know. I guess that's all I've got. I hope this was at least somewhat coherent, because I do not have a script. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember to subscribe and do all the press the variety of colorful buttons below. It's always much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.